evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors reorganization meeting. You want to be the temporary chair?
Sure, yes. Should we say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the agenda are 3 items: appoint a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary/treasurer. We can do that in 3 separate motions, or we can do that as one. I'll entertain a motion for either approach. So retain the chair, vice chair, and secretary, treasurer as they are now, or appoint a new chair, essentially.
I'll make a motion that they stand as they are.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Not here.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think that's unanimous.
Okay, we will move on to public comment regarding the reorganization meeting. Your comments regarding the reorganization?
What's that for regular?
I will begin that.
Please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Hobson McCown. I am currently a resident of Ferguson Township, and I wanted to speak to the board today about the potential appointees that are being considered on the consent agenda sheet that you provided. There's a few I want to touch on specifically. Now, I submitted to this, to the president and the secretary for Gregg Township a letter yesterday prefacing some of my comments. The first is that you have for Gregg Township Emergency Management Coordinator proposed appointee Jim Smith. I wanted to quickly give you a review about past mentions regarding Jim Smith from my own personal experience. And I wanted to ask the supervisors to take a moment and pause and decide, is this the appointment that you want to make? Through public comment and through video that was eventually released by a right-to-know request that was denied by the agency and overturned on Office of Open Records appeal. I believe that you all know that I had multiple encounters with Jim Smith. First, when I did not know who he was, and then afterwards, once I did, and then later, what positions he holds in governmental units between township and the school. And as you know from the video, Jim Smith run his thumb and index finger around the base of my tie during a conversation which I believed was intended to control and intimidate or deter civic conduct of my own or those of observers who would have seen that event. And what I want to ask the board is please consider whether that behavior that you have left unaddressed publicly, to my knowledge up to this point, is something that can be separated from official duties that he may hold, including the emergency management coordinator position. And if you do not believe that can be separated from his place as a citizen and his place as an emergency management coordinator or whatever position you may seek to place him in, then you may want to reconsider who you are going to appoint for that position. And I stress that you read the prefacing email that I had sent on Sunday. Next, regarding solicitor, and I see that you have the name of David Gaines and not a firm, and I don't know whether you intend to appoint the firm or the person. But in any case, as a general note about solicitors, which is also included in my email, one of the things about a position of solicitor is that person is nested from liability for their advice that they give to members of an agency. Whereas those members of the agency who have official duties are the ones who have the civil or criminal liability for misconduct. So what I have seen with many solicitors I've personally encountered across Pennsylvania municipalities is that they enjoy playing puppeteer, and from that nested position to get those with duties to act in a certain way that may imperil them at a later date. Sometimes they like to do things like say law that is not, or hurl defamatory statements at citizens, and they get away with these things. But please ask yourself, are your strings being pulled? And if you say yes, then you may need to reconsider who you choose to put as a solicitor. Next, I would say you have a CPA firm on here for appointment, and I think that you already have auditors, a board of auditors who can do the job under statute, and you should avoid appointing a CPA firm at all and stick with the people who are put into those offices to do the job. Ultimately, nothing about what I just said is about those particular persons as much as it is about deterring bad behavior, and rather than
Your time is up.
putting a rubber stamp on it. Please don't reward bad behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda appointments item 1 through 35.
I'll make the motion. Second that.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda board assignments items number 36 through 43.
I will make that motion. I will second the motion.
Any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda resolution items number 44 through 48.
I'll make the motion. I'll second
Any further discussion?
that. No.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimous.
No.
Entertain a motion to approve the IRS mileage rate, which currently is 57.5 cents per mile for 2020.
I'll make that motion. Second here.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. The rest is just correspondence associated with the appointments. I'll entertain a motion to close the reorganization meeting.
I will make that motion. Second here.
Call to order the regular Board of Supervisors meeting. First of all, public comment. Michelle?
On September 13th, 2018, I requested specific videos of 2 employees entering and exiting the old Gregg school. The township denied my request. 298 days later, Judge Oliver ordered the township to provide the requested videos within 30 days. That was 182 days ago. On November 4th of last year, the township submitted the following statements of fact to the court in response to my petition for contempt. Township's right to know office spent exorbitant amounts of time reviewing video clips from the time period in question, clicking lock on those clips, which is akin to save, and thereby storing those clips on the surveillance system. Through that process, the surveillance footage from the time periods in question was taken out of the automatic loop cycle. As part of that process, the township attempted to save surveillance footage from each camera involved in Ms. Snyder and or Mr. Beerley entering and exiting the building. For reasons that are unclear, only one camera saved that footage in April of 2018, For the remaining series of dates requested, Ms. Grove received footage from all possible relevant camera angles. The only possible issue is that the Township's failure to provide footage from multiple angles, as opposed to just one angle, for the April of 2018 footage justifies sanctions of contempt. These statements, which are false, and others, were verified under penalty of perjury by the chair of our Board of Supervisors. The filing also states, at the time of this request, it is unclear what complaint the petition is raising. So I came here today to make it extra clear. I have not received the records. The Township has told the court I received. Perjury is a serious crime, and not just by statute. At the deleted records cover-up of 2018, also known as the Town Hall, there were cheers of "Amen" in response to derogatory comments about me. The president of the Old Gregg School Advisory Board has suggested on numerous occasions that I am evil. I want to remind you all that bearing false witness against your neighbor is not just a crime by statute, it is a sin. The Bible says that spreading a false report is joining hands with a wicked man, and a man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a war club, a sword, or a sharp arrow. It also says that false witnesses sow discord among brothers and breathe out violence. Perjury is indeed a violent act. When I was a child, I committed to living in a life of nonviolence with very limited exceptions, such as self-defense or defense of others. As part of my childhood commitment, I refused to eat meat. I've held to that commitment for 3.5 decades. One thing I have never been able to stomach is bullying by government. And that is what has been happening here, and that is why I started attending meetings in 2016. When I was a teenager, I read a story that has stuck with me to this day, and I would like to read it to you. There's a Sikh story about a holy man who gave 2 men each a chicken and said, "Go kill them where no one can see." One guy went behind the fence and killed the chicken. The other guy walked around for 2 days and came back with the chicken. The holy man said, "You didn't kill the chicken?" The guy said, "Well, everywhere I go, the chicken sees." The moral of this story is that when one commits violence against another, the act of violence is always seen by someone. Maybe the people at the town hall who yelled, "Amen," haven't seen the violent acts the township has committed over the last 3+ years, but those acts have been seen. Maybe the judges in our county court haven't seen these malicious acts of violence yet, but they are not the only ones who will judge these actions. So I ask the Board of Supervisors to come clean about what's been going on, and thank you for your time.
Liaisons report, solicitors report.
I had a public comment for this meeting. My name is Hobson McCown. I reside in Ferguson Township. I wanted to provide a follow-up report to the Board of Supervisors regarding a series of events that relate to a tie-grabbing incident by Jim Smith. But the story here is ultimately about not keeping video anymore after that incident occurred in January of 2019. It was attested by the Open Records Officer on May 8th that video was no longer recorded as of April 3rd, 2019. In a filing by David Gaines on behalf of the Township on November 5th, 2019, on page 3, it is stated that because of Grove's continued request for footage, the Township no longer records footage for Old Gregg School. Now, in the course of right-to-know litigation, April 26th, 2019 request for the footage of Jim Smith grabbing my tie, occurring approximately, or about the date, January 7th, 2019, was denied by this agency on numerous grounds, which included security and infrastructure and other exceptions. And in the course of that, it was said it was really important to have that security footage, or perhaps just the placement of the cameras. But in any case, it was argued by the township that it was valuable to have that footage. So it seems strange to me that between the footage of the tie grabbing and the request for other footage related to employees entering and leaving the building, that Gregg Township would make the choice to end surveillance recording within just a few months after that. What it sounds like to me is that there's a possibility that it is intended to prevent the acquisition of evidence of misbehavior, because it is inconvenient if that's what's occurring on any basis. So I would ask the township to perhaps explain to the constituency why they would really go that far when they argued it was so important to have footage in litigation that was eventually overturned by the Office of Open Records that caused that footage to be released. And rather than just being a personal anecdote for me, it is something I can point to and say, hey, this happened. But the real story is, why does it look like things are attempted to be covered up for the future? Please be mindful of the acts taken, and please use your best judgment. Thank you very much.
Dr. Liaison report, Emergency Management Coordinator. We do not have a report. Gregg Township Fire Company, they are training tonight, so there is no one here to give a report for that. I was told to pass along that the fire company had 6 calls for December, and that bingo is on the 24th. They are available Monday evenings if anyone has any questions or concerns they would like to address with the fire company. Old Gregg School Advisory Board. The advisory board is not here. They have not met since the last meeting. Anything physical plant manager would like to report?
Nothing.
Anything from the operations manager?
Nothing.
Penns Valley Code Enforcement Agency sent their report. We all received that. Any comments on that?
I'm here.
Okay. EMS, there's been nothing new since the last meeting. There will be a joint municipal meeting, I believe sometime this month, if not next month. Regional Planning Commission also is not met. Neither is Planning Commission. Anything you want to add for Planning Commission?
Not at this time.
Tri-Municipal Park.
Yeah, the Tri-Municipal Park lease for the farmers who lease the ground has been changed slightly. And the changes all have to do with soil health and improving practices that promote better soil health. And the park board has asked us to approve the new lease. I have a copy here if somebody would like to look at it, but it deals solely with improving soil health at the park. So based on that, I would recommend approval.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the farm lease for the Tri-Municipal Park with the edits.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. No water and sewer authority report either. On Secretary Treasurer's report, I'll entertain a motion to approve the December 12th, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I will make that motion.
Second here.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to accept and approve the all funds financial report.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve the year-end budget report for 2019.
I will make that motion.
I will second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. Next would be discussion on PSAT's conference. Who plans on attending?
I will be attending.
I will. Secretary and Roadmaster. So I'll entertain a motion to approve attendance to the PSAT's conference for the Secretary, Roadmaster, Doug, and myself.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. Any comments from the right to know officer on the right to know report?
No.
Any comments from the board? Roadmaster's report.
There's not a whole lot that's really changed for me. We got to use our chipper that we got from Center Hall Borough and fixed and put back together. It's all in one piece, so that's a good thing. I know we talked before a little bit about having to replace a truck in the future. Talked with a salesman, he said that there's one in Green Township in Logington, and I think it's a 2005. I don't have any information about it, but it's only in Logington, and I think we're asking $45,000, I believe, for it. That's all I know. So I guess with that kind of money and that age and whatnot, it doesn't hurt. It's not very far to go look at as far as something else. So I don't know anything else about it. I'll let you know whenever we hear about it. But other than that, I don't really have anything.
Anything for the road?
None.
Unfinished business, the last thing on there's the underground storage tank. There's not really anything new regarding that. Nothing under new business. Anything else for the good of the order?
I don't think.
No.
Okay. I'll entertain, our next meeting will be February 13th at 6:30. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Meeting adjourned.
Wow.